Hi, welcome back to another edition of Max and Nikki 1000th Time Reactions,
where we react to a song after listening to it for our 1000th time.
We release 3 videos a day.
Every day.
So make sure to hit that subscribe button.
And turn on post notifications.
So you don't miss out on all this great content of ours.
That's right.
So what are we going to listen to right now, Max?
We're going to listen to 1979 by the Smashing Pumpkins.
Now, we've heard this song so many times.
Well, we have. I must confess, I mean, I've heard this a lot of times. It's on the radio a lot. I'm not sure if I've listened to it all the way through 1,000 times per se, but
You've heard it all the way through a lot, though.
Yeah.
I feel like
I would say I probably have heard it in stuff in the media, at least part of it, maybe over 1,000 times.
I've heard this song over 1,000 times. I think it might be my favorite Smashing Pumpkins song. But for all intents and purposes, we'll call it our 1,000th time. If you're new to the channel, what we do here is we listen to the song all the way through without stopping so we don't ruin the vision of the artist. And then we'll talk about it afterwards, talk about a reaction, go in depth with some analysis and all that jazz. Mm-hmm. But before we do that, we'd like to remind you, as we usually do, that we have another YouTube channel called Max and Nikki, on which we perform oldies, tunes, jazz standards, and originals in that vein.
And we got comedy videos on there as well. Mm-hmm. But for right now, let's take a listen to 1979 by the Smashing Pumpkins.
For our 1,000th time.
Here we go.
Light wire right up off the street.
1979.
Yeah, you know, that's
Kind of cool that sort of
the way the intros and
the
ends.
intros and ends. It sounds like it would be another song, actually.
Right.
And what is that kind of? It reminds me of.
Well, this is off of a huge double or even maybe triple album. Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, which is huge. There's a lot of songs on it, so I imagine it's been a while since I've listened to
the whole
whole
album.
thing.
Yeah.
You know, usually that's something that we reserve for long car rides, maybe. You know,
Sure.
and I think maybe that's like a transitional thing, maybe.
Oh, you
know?
think so?
I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. If you guys know, make sure to comment it below and let us know.
Sure, but I think it kind of reminds me of something. Boy, it reminds me of another kind of song that's maybe in that transitionary period from the late 70s to the 80s. Maybe that was kind of the intention with that sound.
Well,
maybe I
there's
don't know.
something-
But I will say this song is just so quintessentially, alternative rock of the 90s.
Well,
I mean,
hold on a second, because I actually think this song was kind of pushing the boundaries, and it seems to me that this song, amongst others off of this album, were very influential on indie rock bands to come, actually.
well, this was not this. This was a huge commercial success.
No, I know, but or alternative rock bands to come, rather. Like, this sounds like it might have even had an influence on Radiohead's evolution, you know?
Well, I mean, definitely. I mean, you could hear the influence on like Neutral Milk Hotel, for instance. Actually,
Sure.
Even his voice. Billy Corgan has sort of kind of whiny kind of voice.
In a good way.
In a good way. I like Billy Corgan's voice. There's other bands later on that I think have a kind of a whine that I'm not necessarily into. I do like Neutral Milk Hotel, but he has sort of I feel like there's a similar vocal style there.
But
Actually.
there's something else about this that it kind of sounds like it might have had an influence on, a band like Coldplay to a degree, or some of
But,
those
I mean,
like
this is absolutely though.
some of those kind of
this is a one of the
quintessential.
quintessential '90s alternative rock bands.
No,
actually,
I know,
for sure.
but it was, I feel like it had an influence on like the shoegazing bands to come,
Sure, but shoegaze music was before this.
No,
for
I
sure,
know,
for
but
sure,
there was a resurgence of it, kind of in and there is still that still goes on.
I mean,
today.
there is this classic Simpsons episode where they go to, I forgot what is it called that they?
It's like a
parody of
Lollapalooza,
Lollapalooza,
knockoff,
a parody of it. But they, satirize the crowds that would be at these music festivals, and the way they kind of move to the music has this shoegazy kind of quality where they're just moving in this like lethargic way to the music. It's
But
really funny.
this kind of song is kind of,
And the Smashing Pumpkins appear in that episode, I should say.
this song and quite a few songs from the album are very kind of markedly different than grunge music.
By the way,
this is-
shoegaze is definitely different. I mean, I wouldn't consider it as melodic.
sure.
It's a little bit more. This actually has a pretty constant rhythmic thing going on. Actually,
Sure. Well, maybe shoegaze is the wrong word to use.
but I understand what you mean.
Do you know what I mean by that? I don't know. I just feel like there are bands in the mid to late 2000s that kind of had a similar sound.
Mid to the late 90s, you mean?
No.
Oh, mid to late 2000s.
That this influenced,
Oh, yeah, perhaps, sure. But a lot of those bands were influenced by a lot of things.
Sure, yeah. But it's interesting that this was, Smashing Pumpkins are from Chicago, and their sound is very different from like a grunge band like Nirvana or
Sure, but what's kind of interesting actually
Pearl Jam,
to note is that right before Nirvana's
I was going to mention this.
album, before Nevermind became, right when it was coming out, actually, they were on tour with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, who
were the
on
headliners.
tour for Blood, Sugar,
Blood-
Sex, Magic.
Yeah.
And, Nirvana was opening for them, and the opening act for all three of them, or they were also on tour with them, was the Smashing Pumpkins
Right.
originally. But
But,
then Smashing Pumpkins dropped out because I guess Billy Corgan had a relationship with
Courtney
Love. And so instead, Pearl
there's-
Jam instead of
Pearl Jam was added to the bill
added to the
instead.
bill instead.
And there was this New Year's Eve show at Cow Palace in the San Francisco Bay Area, and it was Pearl Jam, Nirvana, and Red Hot Chili Peppers. And could you imagine like seeing all three of those bands in a show?
It's crazy because
and
while
it was
they were
right
on tour,
before-
Nevermind started becoming really big,
Right.
And it was almost like, okay, what band is bigger here? Red Hot Chili Peppers or Nirvana here?
Well, that's not even the case because Pearl Jam, they actually didn't that get big before Nevermind, or it was released before Nevermind, but it didn't hit big until a year after its
From
release.
what I understand, it was that Nevermind was becoming a really huge success at the time. But what's funny is, I wonder if the Smashing Pumpkins would have gotten as big at that time. I mean, grunge was really huge in the early 90s. And this is really definitive, I feel like, more of the mid 90s.
Well, but
And Smashing
but
Pumpkins
their first,
ended up becoming really big.
yeah, but their first album was really popular too. Siamese, was it Siamese Daydream? Is that what it's called?
Ooh, Smashing Pumpkins?
Yeah. And that song Today was a huge hit, especially for college students.
Yeah, but college...
No, but Max, the Smashing Pumpkins were really big from that first album.
I know, but when did that come out? I think that's
I think it came out in like '93.
Yeah, 93, that's already... 93
Maybe
is
92,
when
I don't
In
remember.
Utero came out. I mean, that's already... what I'm saying is that's already on the cusp of entering mid 90s,
Yeah, but I mean, I would say that Soundgarden, Black Hole Sun, which was a very
Sure,
that
obviously
came out in the
there's
mid '90s, and that was still
No,
grunge.
that came out at what, 95,
I think?
No, not 95, that's for sure, because Kurt Cobain was able to hear at least a cut of it,
Right, but I think the
beforehand.
album actually came out in '95. I don't know. We're getting some dates mixed up.
Anyway,
here,
we're getting
you know?
on a sidetracked here. Let's talk about the song itself.
Yeah,
Now,
I know. We haven't even really talked about the song that much.
It's definitely a very melodic, catchy tune, but there's some interesting things going on here. One is that there's this part, maybe towards the middle, where there's this kind of white noise that's happening, which is kind of interesting,
Sure.
an interesting effect, and then it does this. I don't know how to explain. There's this sort of sound effect that happens that's kind of cool,
But what is? I mean, the recurring motif. Dun, dun.
Oh yeah, that's the one.
What is that? What's going on there
what's-
exactly?
It
It
almost
sounds like a guitar
ghost.
chord that's like extended somehow.
Well, no, it sounds like there's a reverse effect on it, but maybe yes, some sort of other alteration to it. It almost sounds like sounds like ghostly in a way. You know, what
If
I
you
mean?
guys know, please comment below and let us know what is exactly going on there to
What's cool
achieve
is-
that sound. It's a really cool
it's this-
sound, and
I'm sure
it
it's like
actually
a sound effect that adds. They utilize it throughout. That
Well, but-
adds as it's a essential component to the
it's
song.
it's an essential melodic component of the song, and almost it seems like maybe that's what sort of inspired the rest of the song to be written. Almost was that one little motif, and it seems like. How did that happen? What's the story behind that? Was it an accident that he played that thing, or it happened?
Sure.
That sound effect, and it caused him to create the rest of the song.
Or was it maybe James Yeehaw maybe came up with that, and then
Maybe.
he was like, oh, I got to write a song based on
James Yeehaw is the
the lead guitarist.
guitarist of the band. If you don't know that already, but there's another cool thing is it kind of starts off kind of quieter, and then there's a noticeable change. The drums come in a little bit heavier in the second verse, and it's kind of it's cool because the drums come in such a way that they're almost EQ'd differently when they come in a little bit heavier. You hear the full kit.
Well, it gives it a little bit more oomph,
Right.
after maybe a couple verses. But wait, James Yeehaw is the lead guitarist, correct?
Right, I think.
Because Billy
Corgan is a consummate guitarist too.
He actually, I want to say, I might be incorrect about this. I think their first album, I think Billy Corgan actually recorded everything by himself. I think. Shall I look?
All right, go ahead.
Okay, well, so looks like James Iha was both on the album. He was both a lead guitarist and rhythm guitarist,
And so was Billy Corgan.
And so was Billy Corgan.
And sorry, I misspoke. It's actually Siamese Dream was the first album, not Siamese Daydream. I don't know why. Why did I think Daydream?
Well,
I was
I
thinking.
think-
I guess I mixed Moon Age Daydream.
Moon Age
with-
Daydream, yeah. You know, I always used to think it was Moonage for some reason when I
But there's this song is pretty cool. I mean, there's a lot of songs on the album that are very different. I mean, Bullet with Butterfly Wings. Is that what it's called?
well, and Tonight also.
No. But that song in particular, Tonight kind of sounds like an extension of this song,
This
in a
song.
way.
I like
But
Tonight a lot.
Bullet over with I want to say Bullets Over Broadway, but Bullet with Butterfly Wings. That song is very different than either Tonight or 1979. That one is a little bit more, has more hard rock elements in it.
How does that go?
And that one is, that's my rain.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's a very famous one. Right, that has a little bit more of another aspect to the alternative rock movement.
Sure. But, this song, there's something that is kind of melancholic about 1979, but also kind of puts you in a bit of a trance, and I really like it a lot.
Well, maybe it's part of that, that sound effect.
Yeah, a little bit.
Down,
Down. It's like,
but it's not down. It's more down.
no. It's more like down.
Yeah, that is exactly more what I did just
No,
now.
you did.
You just did that.
No, I went down.
No,
There's a little bit of an accent.
of an attack.
An
I
attack.
don't think so.
I think so.
I don't. Think
Anyway, it's a great song. I think that'll do it for this reaction video. If you like what you heard and saw today, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications to find out about more Max and Nikki reaction videos.
please keep tuning in.